if Elizabeth is not there, I can maybe take the presentation as I'm fully involved in the project. So until she comes.
Okay, that would be wonderful.
Maybe just to take, so
yes.
maybe I think it's very good that we take the possibility to update the group on what's been happening on ePI, and it's very timely. We can have the first slide. And please, Elizabeth, as you arrive, and you let me know, and we can. So as you know, and maybe going back to the origins of this project that everyone has been involved and that we believe is really critical in order to improve how patients and healthcare professionals are accessing information on medicines in Europe, we discussed that there are a lot of solutions and there are a lot of initiatives going on out there trying to advance and to be able to provide this information electronically. I think the challenge that in the context of a European Union is important. We managed to do that in an harmonized manner, and that we managed to do that in a way which applies to all citizens equally, which is the principle that we are using when it comes to medicines regulation. So in this respect, we developed in 2020 the key principles, and the key principles paved the way to implement ePI in Europe. And one of the main key principles was that we have definitions, and we define that what is ePI, and we have here, but also we define that in order to progress with ePI, we need to have a common electronic standard, and a standard which is agreed by regulators, by stakeholders, and which is going to be like the basis, the foundation to build and implement electronic product information in Europe. So the idea is that ePI facilitates the disseminations to patients and healthcare professionals. And we made during the development and the work that we did last year, a lot of work to see and to try to give like cases and describe situations where we can benefit of this. And for example, we can see situations where we can access ePI on a phone or a tablet and can be used afterwards for all users with print impairments. Or maybe to set reminders on how to take medicines, or in order to maybe, for example, go to how to take your medicine and see a video or use a screen reader, etc. But also, for example, what we saw, a very good example is during the rollout of the vaccines. The vaccines were authorized in such a way that product information was being updated in sequence. I mean, it was impossible to keep the product information up to date if you want to use it in paper. That way, we need to rely on some solutions, some temporary solutions, like the use of QR code and linking to the national language product package leaflet. So this is another example of how electronic product information could be of benefit when the rollout of vaccines, and that the product information was being updated as new information was generated. So these user cases were very useful in order to illustrate the benefits that it can bring, in addition to the paper. Next. So what has been achieved in 2021? This was because the way we have a structure is that we organize what we call the setup project, which is the first stage of the project. And these were the objectives of the setup project. In first, we wanted to create this standard, which is the basis. Second, to do a proof of concept prototype, to be able to show to stakeholder how it will look, how ePI will look, and then to develop a realistic medium-term vision and roadmap, which is going to tell us how we are going to implement and how we are going to develop this over the time. So in terms of the first deliverable, the common standard, we came to the conclusion, and after discussing with the stakeholders, with other regulators, that the common standard will be based on FHIR, for electronic product information, and FHIR is a set of XML, which is used, is a reference for health data resources, and is the one that was chosen as such. So the adopted standard, which is now finalized, it was subject to consultation during the summer, is now published on GitHub, and you can use this link in order to be able to access the standard. And the standard consists of the API specification, then the template, the FHIR XML template, which is based on the QRD template, which is the template that we have been using to generate product information traditionally in paper, and then an instance of an EPI sample message which is provided in XML and HTML, along with a sample fake XML transformation. Okay, so the second one is the proof of concept, which is the example how we wanted to show and to demonstrate to the, because one thing is maybe to develop the standard, but another thing is to be able to show to all the stakeholders and to all the public. And this is what we try to present in a workshop that we organized in July. And again, the prototype is available through this link in YouTube. And I think it was very important because it showed exactly how it is going to look. We made a very, in my view, very useful and very demonstration how the multilingual element can be incorporated, but also elements of accessibility and user-friendly, and also how the possibilities that it can bring in future for impaired patients, etc., as well as the possibilities it has to be interoperable with all other initiatives, IT initiatives, which are being developed at the moment within the EU regulatory network. And I understand that Elizabeth is now online, so maybe Elizabeth, you can take over and continue with the presentation.
Many thanks, Juan. So Juan has been walking you through the deliverables that we achieved this year. And I do encourage you to go to YouTube and look at the demo that we made. I do want to emphasize that this demo we made in the context of a proof of concept exercise. So really what we wanted to do was show that the standard that we were proposing can deliver what we wanted to deliver for patients and healthcare professionals, not just create a standard on paper that we assume works, but we're not sure that it works. And we created this website, which is not entirely user tested, but it just sufficient to prove the concept that the standard will work. And here, just in this screenshot, you can see a medicine with a table of contents. And what I particularly liked about the proof of concept was that in our draft website, we had a drop-down menu with all the different EU languages. So this proof of concept exercise really showed that the standards that we were proposing for EPI is capable of delivering multilingual product information that can reach accessibility criteria, for example, be used by screen readers and support users who have print impairments. It can be user-friendly, and it also can be interoperable with all the master data that we have for medicines held within the medicines regulatory network, so it can provide the benefits of this data also. So this was the second deliverable of the project in 2021. Next slide, please. And finally, the third deliverable was really the roadmap. In other words, what do we do next? So we developed the standard, we had a public consultation, and this common standard has been adopted on behalf of the whole medicines network across the EU. So all the regulators accept that we should aim to use this standard for harmonized EPI across Europe. But now we need to figure out how to actually implement this into our business processes, into the regulatory processes, both at EMA and at the national competent authorities. And we need to develop the tooling and the guidance for this. So this is really the next stage in 2022 and 2023. We need to develop a creation tool for EPI that will be able to create EPI according to this standard. And then all the materials around this that will be used by the regulators, the companies, and so on in order to use EPI during the business processes, and then also by web teams and those who will be accessing EPI in order to display it to patients and healthcare professionals. So we anticipate this development part will take most of 2022. And then in 2023, we hope to be ready to do a pilot, which means that we will take a small number of medicines, some centrally authorized medicines and some nationally authorized medicines, and we will put EPI into real business processes of real regulatory procedures for those medicines. And we will monitor the piloting, and then these outcomes will really inform us about what's working, what needs to be changed, how we will move forward into implementation. So this is our plan for 2022-2023, and this pilot project will then be followed by an implementation phase where we actually look to implement EPI for CAPS, also for nationally authorized products. We don't anticipate it will happen in one big bang for all nationally authorized products, but that there would be a phased implementation according to the readiness and the resources of the different agencies across the EU. But as we have this common ground of the common standard, this means it will be controlled and harmonized, and we will have controlled upversioning of the standard and so on in the future to get even more benefits from this harmonization. So we very much look forward to updating you throughout the next 2 years during this piloting phase. Also, we likely will have questions and specific aspects where we need input from patients and healthcare professionals and other stakeholders, and we look forward to coming back to you with those as well. I think that's my last slide. Happy to take questions.